Please mute. How you guys coming?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay, I only have a couple of you submitting it so far, so when you're done, please submit it. Okay, we ready to go through it? My quiz is submitting. I'm just stepping. Okay. You have to submit. Are you guys done? There's about 5 of you that haven't submitted yet. Are you guys done?
We're still on it.
Okay. And you guys should be able to read the ones, if you got anything wrong, you should be able to read the ones you got wrong, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll go through each one and talk about it.
Trying to help her. Oh, I already took the food out to cook. Go ahead.
Okay, it's 4:13. Let's do 2 more minutes and then you got to submit it and we'll go over it. We can't go over it till everybody submitted it. Did the questions make sense as far as what we've been covering today? And most of you most of you have done just fine on the quizzes, so that's good.
Yeah. I changed 2 of my answers. I had them right and then
Up,
bad habit.
come
Me too. Back to
on.
my guns.
Didn't we
I
already
second
talk it?
this.
Did we already talk about this?
Yeah. No,
Hold on, wait,
it's
Wait,
a
Miss
bad
Barbara,
habit
because
of
I
mine.
Come on,
changed
you
number 9, and number
guys.
9, I initially got it wrong, but now I got a 10 out of 10 because I did change my answer.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Hey, sometimes it works.
Well, if you can, okay, so when you changed your answer, had you convinced yourself of why you picked the wrong answer? And it was okay to change it, Makeda?
I looked over the question again, and I just was looking at the keywords in it, and I had to think about the priority of it and what matched best with the priority, and then I changed my answer.
Most of these questions were priority questions.
Mhm.
So if you ever wanted practice in how to pick out a cue word or an important phrase, this was the quiz to do it. Right? Okay. So let's see. Where am I? Okay. All right. What statement is true regarding children and environmental health hazards? What'd you guys pick?
Their proximity to the ground increases the risk of toxic exposure.
Great. And why did you pick that answer?
I treated each statement as a true or false statement to get to that one. I wasn't entirely sure. I almost think like I got there. So.
That's the one I changed.
And what did you pick instead?
No, you don't.
Affecting the liver. The first one. The young liver is more effective of elements of toxic chemicals, which
Wouldn't it be the opposite?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we talked about kids being so at risk because of their underdeveloped systems. So that was kind of a mental error,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I second.
You what?
I'm getting better at it.
Okay, all
So
right, okay.
That's the same question I second guessing. I put the exact same answer that she did. I had it
Mhm.
right, then I went back and switched it.
yep. I kept going back and forth, and my original answer was the one with their lower to the ground that increases the risk of toxicity, and I kept going back and forth.
Okay, because remember they pick up everything off the ground, they put everything in their mouth,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you guys should know that from Med-Surg that it would just be the opposite. C kind of makes no sense. And then D, it would be just the opposite. Right? Number 2, during a home health visit for a pregnant client, the nurse notes the client's husband regularly uses pesticides at work. Which nursing intervention is priority? What'd you guys pick?
Remind him to take his clothes off.
So A. Okay, right?
Yes,
Yes,
And
A.
why did we pick A?
because his chemical exposure, and if he comes home and she's pregnant and she handles those things, it could be
Could contaminate her and
bad
get
for the
toxic
baby.
for her and the baby.
Anybody have a different answer?
I had changed mine and I put assess the family history. Thought I had the first one originally, but I just thought that if he's using pesticides, you would assess them for developmental aid, but then I realized I didn't read that choice properly.
Right, and you might have missed the word priority.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we can deal with B, C, and D. Right, so this is a good example of, the answers look okay. Some of the other answers look okay. And you can only choose one. So go back and read the question and see if you missed an important word, which was priority. Right? We can do B, C, and D, but A is a priority. Home health nurse works in the community with high rates of complex illness and neurological disorders. Which environmental characteristic is a priority? Another Q word.
The presence of several manufacturing plants nearby in your community is what I picked.
And why
That's
did
an
you pick that?
environmental priority.
Because when you have manufacturing plants, you have a lot of pollutants coming out of, chimneys. It could be chemicals. And if you're close by, community river, any of that stuff goes in the river, it goes in the water. And if your source of water comes, like from the river, you go swimming in the river, stuff like that, you get contaminated, or your children.
And the question says environmental and priority.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anybody have a different answer? Great. The nurse is reinforcing education about the diabetic client. Which statement indicates a barrier to learning? So how is this question? Is this a positive or negative question?
Negative.
It's a
And I
negative
chose
question.
keto.
You're looking for a barrier. What's a barrier? What's the
This is the other one I changed. I had the correct answer.
what's the right answer?
I'd rather use keto.
Right. Why is this a barrier?
Oh, wait a minute. What number are we on?
Because
Four.
it's a clear indication that they don't understand their disease.
Oh, okay. No, I got this one right. I was on the wrong question.
Right. They're deciding what they would rather do based on focusing on what's a healthy diet for the disease they have, which is diabetes. Does that make sense? Did anybody get that one wrong? Right? Because all the other three are appropriate statements. right? Question number 5, which nursing intervention will enhance the learning for a client who speaks English as a second language? What would you guys come up with?
I changed my answer. That's the second one I had changed my answer to.
Creating a
I had the
pamphlet.
correct one, but
And then
I changed it to the other one because I read it wrong.
Okay, what's the right
Thought it
answer?
Create a pamphlet in a client's primary language.
Right, that's the best strategy with regards to all the other answers. Let's say you provide a recording of teaching to view later. Well, if they don't understand the language, they're not going to understand the recording, right? If you're asking them to do the teach back method in English and it's their second language, they're not going to be able to teach it back to you because they probably didn't learn a lot. And you certainly wouldn't give them a dictionary, an English dictionary, to learn vocabulary. That's just inappropriate. So we talked about this earlier. Create a pamphlet in their primary language. Anybody get that one wrong?
Yeah, that's the one I changed, so I got it wrong.
You got it wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
I did. I didn't think a pamphlet in their primary language
See, I
would
was
help them
thinking,
learn the new one. So
yeah, I was thinking it says create a pamphlet. I didn't think we could create a pamphlet. I mean, I could give them information
You
in
can
their
create-
language. Finding, I didn't think that we were allowed to create. So that's why I ended up changing that. And I thought I had read include the family in teaching and in teach back session. So that's where I messed up.
Okay, but if they're not understanding the language, how are they going to teach back to you? First, you have to find a way to communicate with them in their primary language. And as far as creating a pamphlet, we can create educational tools. However, that's going to help the patient if we print things off the internet, we print, I think you're reading too much into the question.
I was.
Remember, you have all the information to pick the right answer right in the question. If it's not in the question, it doesn't exist. Will you guys remember that, please? If it's not in the question, it doesn't exist. So with Yolanda thinking, well, I didn't really think we could create pamphlets. There's nothing about that in the question. All right. If the information, all the information you need is in the question. You can't overthink it. Well, what if? Okay. If it's not in the information is not in the question, it doesn't exist. So Yolanda went down the rabbit hole of thinking, well, can I or can I not create a pamphlet?
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly what I did.
Yep. The home health nurse is reinforcing education on the use of a glucometer. Which approach would be most effective? Keyword, most effective. This is a great example of everything looks okay.
Demonstrating the use of the glucometer, then observing the client return demonstration.
Is that what people chose?
That's what I chose.
Did anybody choose something different from A? Great.
Nice.
Great. Good job. And again, it's asking for most effective. Well, A is the most effective. B, C, and D could be effective, but it's not the most effective. That's that. Which domain of learning is that?
Psychomotor.
Yep.
And I
The
don't
home
think
he-
the other one is effective because, kids generally don't have a long attention span. So to teach in a long comprehensive session, yeah, after 15 minutes, they're not even paying attention.
Yep. Home health nurse is reinforcing education for an 8-year-old with type 1 diabetes. Which approach will be most effective? Another key word. So you have to be knowledgeable of growth and development here. What would be the most effective way? And this is a good example of how you have to teach to your different audiences. What do we do with an 8-year-old?
You use props and play.
So what's the right answer?
Number one, teach through play with toys and dolls or
Yep.
dolls.
B is not, did anybody choose anything other than A? I had some students in my Monday class that chose C. And when I asked why, they said that, well, an 8-year-old really can't really learn about type 1 diabetes. You're going to have to teach the parents. That's not true. 8-year-olds are very capable of learning about their diabetes. You can include the parents, but you also have to include the child. I mean, I had 8-year-olds in my schools that were given their own insulin shots. That
Not
were
only that, the question says to reinforce the teaching to the child.
Yep. Which nursing intervention is a priority for the client who is not motivated to learn? Another key word, priority. What's the priority?
To establish trust and rapport with the person prior to educating them. This way they will be more in tune with you to learn, give you a chance to teach them.
Exactly. Excellent. Anybody choose anything other than D?
Did. Yeah, I did.
What'd you
That's the one I
choose?
got wrong. I chose assess the client's preferred learning style to tailor the education.
Okay.
Because if say you have an audio tool or whatever, and they're not they don't learn that way, then they're not going to be inclined to retain the information. So I overthought that.
That's totally appropriate. Totally appropriate. But what has to happen before?
They have to trust me enough to open up to learn.
Exactly. And that's why that priority word was in there. So be careful of those questions when there are other answers, when there's more than one answer that could be correct, go back and reread the question and see if you missed something in the question. Occupational health nurse is caring for a client who reports lower back pain that's worse at the end of the workday. Which intervention is a priority? Another key word. What did we choose? Come on. You just went through this in
Obviously,
class.
Assess
we're gonna
lifting
assess their
techniques
lifting
for
techniques.
safe body
Yes.
mechanics.
Yes.
I was trying to give somebody else a chance.
Oh, okay. Did anybody choose anything other than B?
At first, I chose recommended the use of non-pharmacological, whatever, but then I changed my answer.
That's not our role as an occupational nurse to recommend. What if we recommend something and they're allergic to it, or recommend something they have a reaction to it? What we do is recommend them to speak with their doctor. Right? We don't do those kinds of recommendations. We're not sure. I'm not sure they need a referral for an expert medical evaluation at this point. And, provide a list of local massage therapists. We're kind of telling them what they need to do. That's not right. Assess lifting techniques and safe body mechanics in the workplace if they're complaining that it happens at the end of the workday. And it's also asking a priority. What's the priority? Which statement is true regarding the scheduling of client education?
Should be completed when the client is most comfortable.
Okay, why did you choose that?
Because it's not about when it's convenient for the nurse. It should not be done in one session, and it doesn't matter if their family is in the way, and that should be centered around the client.
Right. Maybe they want to do some preparation and research about whatever you're teaching. Maybe they can't do it early in the morning. Maybe it's when they're best prepared to do it. So we need to try and accommodate that. Okay. So for the ones that got a question or two wrong, do you now understand why the question is wrong? Your answer was wrong. Do we help clarify that by having the discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? So that should complete the 3 weeks of content for your exam. So I would say in the next couple of days, when it's fresh in your mind, start going through that study guide, start highlighting on that study guide. Yep, I know this, I remember this, I'm comfortable with this, or put a big X through it. I don't understand this. I have to go back to my reading. I have to go back to my notes, and I need to do more research on this topic or more research on this concept. Okay? And if you haven't been prepping for class and doing your readings, you're going to need to go back and do that to supplement the study guide. As I always say, the study guide's a great starting point. It's a summary of all the topics that are going to be covered on the exam. But you got to understand it. So we're taking our knowledge now that you have from lectures and your readings and your homework. We're taking all that knowledge and now we're applying it into the clinical judgment model, clinical setting. That's what your exam's all about, applying this now. Right? Because remember, that's what Next Gen's all about. Clinical judgment. Taking all that great knowledge and putting it into practice. Anybody have any questions?
Are quizzes reflected in the KGA at this moment because it doesn't apply to my KGA for some odd reason?
Mine isn't either.
Homework
Um,
isn't turned on yet, I don't think.
yeah, I haven't turned it on. I'm going to turn it on later today. Yep.
Okay, thank
There's
you.
5 quizzes. Each of them are worth 1 point. Right? So your exams are 55% and your 5 quizzes are 5%, which gets you to, is that right? Yeah. And your HESI is 20. So 3 exams are 55, 5 quizzes are 5, and HESI's 20. Yeah. Right?
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right, so I am going to be turning homework grades later on. I've got a couple of tutoring sessions with students for the next 3 or 4 hours, and then hopefully early this evening, I'll get all these homework grades turned on. I just haven't had a minute today.
Okay.
I had an earlier class, so I'll get to it, I promise. All right, well, good to see everybody today. Thanks for everybody's participation. I hope you learned a lot about environmental, occupational, things that you probably don't think about much during the day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for me. Stay on if you have any questions. If you want to meet with me, just shoot me an email. Try and get to the reviews if you can. And then as you get close to exam time next week, Monday or Tuesday, if there are things that you're just not getting, you've done your due diligence and you're just not getting, send me an email. We'll do a quick Zoom and we'll do some tutoring on whatever content you're still struggling with. Okay?
Do we email you or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Email me or text me, next Monday or Tuesday and say, hey, there's a couple of things I'm struggling with on this study guide. I just can't get it. I've gone back to my reading. I've gone back to my notes. I'm still not getting it. Can we just spend a few minutes and go through it? I did that with several students before the first exam. I'm perfectly fine with that. And if you want to do a group, if a few of you want to get together and get onto a Zoom and ask me a few questions, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. I just want you to know I'm available. I'm available before exam 2 to help with anything you're struggling with.
Thank
Okey
you.
dokey?
Thank you again.
All right, you're welcome. You guys have a great rest of the week. Hang in
You
there.
too.
You guys
You
are doing
also.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Just hang in there. We'll get there. I promise. We'll all get there. We all just have to do our part.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right.
Mhm.
Have a good rest of the week, everybody.
You also.
Thank you, do the same.
Thank you. You also.
Bye.
Professor, can I stay on? I have a quick question.
Yeah,
once
of course.
everybody
Let me
leaves.
just stop recording. Yep, of course.